This is VirtualPBX admin training. Just mostly testing to make sure sound's working. And then wait a couple minutes to make sure the people who signed up can get here. If you're a vConsole customer, we no longer do the live trainings for vConsole. You can find recorded training on our website, www.virtualpbx.com. Mouse over support, and then select vConsole support. If you scroll down a couple, like a third of the way down, you'll see the videos for the vConsole, as well as further down below that, you'll see the various guides for the vConsole features. Likewise for Dash, we do have recorded trainings. Again, so virtualpbx.com, mouse over support, select Dash support. You'll see the trainings there, and then below them, you'll see the guides for specific features with screenshots, so you can see everything that we're going to be doing. And let's go ahead and get started. So you should be seeing the Dash login page, which is this dash.virtualpbx.com. To log in, your username is going to be your email address. Password, hopefully you got that via email. And then the account name is going to be your company name. Typically speaking, I recommend for most people just click on Remember Me. But if you don't, and then later forget your information, you got your forgot info link here. Likewise, if someone created your user for you and for whatever reasons you didn't get the email with your password, you can still click forgot your info as long as you have your email address and your account name. Let's just get loaded here. Now, right now, on this account, I go right to the dashboard. But if it's your first time logging into Dash, whether your account was just moved to Dash or you just signed up, you're actually going to be taken to a page that looks like this, which is just your user information. You can adjust your time zone here, for example. If you're as admins, you also have access to the account information. So for the account level, you can change the time zone if you need to. Now, I'm on a test account, so it's not exactly everything that you have. So for you, for customers, for example, under this user account and user information, you have another section here for billing, so that you can update your credit card information. I believe you can even pull up invoices, etc. Now, once you're done with this, and again, for the first time signing in, the little Dash wizard pops up, giving you a little tour. But eventually, just click close up here, and then you'll be taken to your dashboard page. So on the top, again, we have your name, where you can always go back to your account settings. Got a little question mark icon here, so you can open up chat to talk to support. You can go to our support pages to look up specific guides. You have your online store, right, so you can order Voip phones or network equipment. And because of this particular user, I actually added a web phone, so I have a link to the web phone page. You have a little three horizontal line icon here, or menu icon. I think some of our support sometimes refer to it also as hamburger icon. These get you to other features of Dash, which we'll get to at the end. And then you have the option here to log out. Your main headline here. And then on the left, we've got navigation through the main Dash features. Basically, these are the primary things you would need to get set up. And then in the middle here, we've got your snapshot of your system as it currently exists. So total users, these are all the people on the account making and receiving calls. Total devices, in this case 56. And then the breakdown, cell phone, pretty self-explanatory. The web phone, it's a kind of soft phone that uses Chrome or Firefox to make and receive calls, obviously over your internet connection. Soft phone is a software application, usually runs on a computer, but will be on a laptop, tablet, or cell phone. A SIP phone is a physical VoIP phone. It sits on your desk, and SIP being a subtype, right? So VoIP is the generic term for voice over internet protocol. There are many kinds of VoIP phone, right? So SIP being one of the subtypes, and then landline, pretty self-explanatory. The unregistered devices, which is a little red 18, basically says, hey, the system does not know that these devices are connected. Means basically any of your VoIP devices can show up under here if they're not connected, right? Like someone lost power, or their internet went down, the dog ran by, pulled out the cable from the phone. Right. Total phone numbers. These are phone numbers on the account that are customer facing, right? So your customers dial these numbers to reach you. Assigned numbers. These are numbers in use, right? They go someplace on your system. They're one of these main numbers over here to the right, for example, or they go specifically to a person, one of your users. They'll go to a ring group, an ACD queue, etc. Right? Spare numbers. There are numbers on your account, but you're not using them. Basically, if you dial them, they're not going anywhere. You know, they should ring busy, in fact. Now, based on your plan, will depend how many phone numbers you get included in your plan, right? Some plans include only one phone number. Other plans go up to 15. If you go over your allotment for your plan, it's $4.99 per month per phone number. So like on this plan, I'm paying a lot for phone numbers. Down below here, I've got USDID and US toll-free, right? So toll-free, 800 number, 877-866, all the way down to 833 currently. Right, USDID, that just means a US local number. So a number in El Segundo, California versus a number in Des Moines, Iowa, right? You could have numbers in different parts of the country if you need to. You can also have international numbers on your Dash account. If you're interested in that, you're going to want to email porting, so PORTING, at virtualpbx.com, and we're going to need to know the city and country that you're going to want a phone number in, and we will let you know if there are further requirements. Some countries require more, like Germany requires a proof of presence within the city that you want a phone number in, like a utility bill. All right, conference bridges, 5. That means this is the number of my 28 users. 5 of them I've been able to conference in. Basically, these 5 people can host or moderate a conference. Over here on the right, these are your main numbers. So these are your typical numbers most of your customers call in to reach your system. These numbers all behave the same way. So they'll all have the main greeting, for example, right? Same main greeting. And they'll all route initially the same way. Conference number, you can have multiple conference numbers, but basically these are numbers so people can reach your conference bridges. Your fax box number, you can only have the one fax box number. This allows you to accept faxes. It also creates a fax box on the system. And then you can also send out faxes via email to fax. Company directory, download, it's a text file. This shows everyone's extension number. The softphone directory is new. It's about a month old now. If you use the VirtualPBX desktop softphone app, you can download this file and upload it to the desktop softphone app, and then you'll have all your coworkers in a folder, basically, where you can say, hey, you can just call them directly from the softphone app. You have to memorize their extension. It also has it's also a way to show presence, basically. So, people are online versus like their phones are green, you can call them, they're red, you can't, right? They've marked themselves away in some fashion. Store discount code, just for being a Dash customer, you get a discount when you buy anything through our web store. And if you need to buy a VoIP phone or a router, etc. And then the account realm, this you use for a couple different things. One, you use it to program third-party VoIP devices, which we'll get into shortly. That basically is part of provisioning that device. And the other place it's used is for sending out a fax. So as I mentioned, it's an email to fax service. So you use the email address that you use to log in with. Right? So you go to your email client, you create a new email. in the to field of that email, you put +1 area code and phone number of where you're faxing to, right? So the fax number that you're going to send to, the @ symbol, and then your account realm. And then you attach a PDF or a TIFF file to send out. Now, a couple things. In that email, there's no point in typing in the body of the email because nothing else in that email is going through, only the attachment. And you can only send out one attachment at a time. So, so the largest file I've been able to see get faxed out is 7 megabytes. Excuse me. That took about an hour to send out. So just keep that in mind if you're making use of faxing. All right, up along the top here, we've got the caller ID. So this is your main company caller ID. The pull down here, which unfortunately is not going to work on my streaming software, is for all of your main numbers. So you can choose which number you want to work with. So then we got your company caller ID name or CNAME. This is additional caller ID information that gets sent when you make an outbound call, say from your VoIP phones. This is restricted to 15 characters, including spaces or special characters. That's an industry standard. Once you click Save Changes there at the bottom, that information gets sent to the other carriers who support CNAME, and they update their servers. That can take up to 3 business days. Once that's done, typically, when you make an outbound call for your VoIP phone, then your company call ID will show up on the other person's phone, assuming it's, typically that's what's going to happen. There are a couple caveats. First and foremost, not every carrier supports CNAME. So if a call happens to route through one of those carriers, your CNAME information is not going to go through. Now, your major carriers that you all know about, that's not a concern. It's usually the smaller regional carriers that may not happen with. Even for the carriers who do support CNAME, it's their lowest priority, right? In telecom, first priority, connect the call. Secondly, caller ID. And then in a distant third is the CNAME information. So if they have heavier than expected call volume, your CNAME information may not go through. Obviously, if they're having an outage or some sort of major maintenance, also may not go through. All right, down below that, we have your company emergency E911 information. Typically here, you're putting your main address, or at least the address associated with this phone number, right? So if you have multiple locations, right, then you could have, and for each one of these main numbers, might be a different location. You could put the individual address there. But that's in case someone picks up their VoIP phone and dials 911. This is the default address that gets sent to emergency services. Now, you can have individual 911 on the devices, on the VoIP phones anyway. So that way it's appropriate for people when people are working remotely. Hold music. So on Dash, hold music is after a call has connected to a user, right? So call comes in, I pick up, I'm talking to the customer, I realize I need to put them on hold. Like I need to pull up some information, it's going to take a little bit. I ask the customer, hey, is it okay if I put you on hold? They say yes. I hit hold on my VoIP phone, then this music file would play. Now, this is just our default file here, but you can upload your own. So Dash, you can upload .wav or a .mp3 file. You want to record that in mono, and you want to keep it under 1 megabyte. Do all those things, you upload the file, that's what will play. Right, and then, so you would just browse the file on your computer, select the file, and then click the little white and blue up arrow here, and then save changes. Now, hours is actually part of main number, so we're going to go right over to main number. And then you have all these subsections. Excuse me. If you click on the section here, again, I can see my main numbers. A little gear icon, right? So that's where I can set I can also set the individual caller ID here, as well as the E911. Prepend. That is for VoIP phone users. You can add additional text in front of the phone number's caller ID. So when it shows up on their Voip phone, they can say, oh, it's about this product or it's this location. Now down here, you've got options to add from spare numbers or by main numbers. So anywhere you can add a phone number. So on a user, to a group, to a queue, you can add numbers directly to them, either from your spare number or if you buy a number, right? So local, again, I'm just going to choose, let's choose Vegas. Right, okay, oh, there's no numbers available in Vegas. Then come back to search. Register toll-free. Choose your toll-free prefix. But then you can add numbers and notice the cart went up. And you can add multiple if you want. It takes a couple minutes or a minute or so. And then now these numbers are here. Now, if I decide I don't want a number in a particular location, I unassign it. And now the number is still on my account. However, it's going to move over to my numbers section here. All right, office hours strategy, 24-hour office, 24-hour open office. I cannot talk today. Basically, you're open for business all the time. Right, custom office hours is what most people select. Put a check mark in front of each day of the week that you're open, and then these boxes to the right here, you put your open hours in 24-hour or military time. You also have an option down here if you're closed for lunch. So meaning, hey, the whole facility closes for lunch, same time everyone goes to lunch. You can set your lunch hours there. You got office holidays. First, put a check mark here if you're closed for holidays. And then over here to the right, you add holidays, either single day, date range, or advance. So single day, pretty straightforward. You give it a name. Well, every time you click add holiday, it'll create a new row. So yeah, you give it a name, and then you select the month and the date. Then you click Save Changes. Date range, so like here I've noted on Christmas, right, December 23rd through the 26th. Again, select the dates. The advanced is like this retreat one here, basically saying, hey, first Friday in July, we're closed. The only real caveat is for date range, because there's no year indicator. You want to avoid a date range that includes the New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Basically, just use individual day for those 2 days, but beyond that, you are good to go. All right, incoming call handling. So this is how all your main numbers are being handled. So first option here. Now these first three options are pretty standard. I'm not sure when this fourth one got added. And then you also have holidays. Now that's only because I chose to be open, 24-hour open office. If you're doing custom office hours, you're going to have an after hours tab here and possibly a lunch hours tab if you're closed for lunch. But they all have the same options here. So first option, calls come in from one of your main numbers. They're going to go to my virtual receptionist. You can click on that. It's a link. And then on your left, you've got your menu options, right? What people press on their phones to navigate through your phone system. On the right is your greeting option. So in terms of adding routes, there we go. Right, so you click add route, and then normally you can click 0 through 9, and then you say, hey, where is it going to go? Right, so you can have it go to a specific person. You can have it go to the directory. Call queues, which means that's if you're making use of ACV queues. And just so you know, ACV queues start at $15 per month and go up from there per queue. You can have it go to a specific device. So you want it to ring someone's particular cell phone or VoIP phone, for example. You can have it go directly to a media file. By default, however, when it goes to media file, after that media file stops or gets to the end, the call is ended. So something to be aware of there. And then we've got ring groups, which is a lesser version, I guess, of ACDQs, or rather ACDQs are an advanced version of ring groups. Advanced call flow, this is for, main DISA is, DISA stands for Direct Inward System Access. It allows your cell phone or landline users to call into the system, log in essentially, and then make an outbound call. And then you've got your option to go to voicemail box. The little icon will change depending on what you select, right? So this is a single person, right? This is going to a voicemail box. This is going to a ring group. The little headset is for a queue. I forget what the one for the voicemail line. Or I mean the media file or the specific device. Anyway, greetings, text to speech. You simply type it in, you click update, you click save, and then save changes. Upload your own file, again, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono, under 1 megabyte. Just so you know, a 1 megabyte MP3 is roughly 5 minutes long. You can choose from existing call recordings, existing recordings, basically anything you've already previously uploaded, for example, or recorded over the phone. You can record it over the phone. By default, this is set up to be working with your VoIP phones on the account. If you do not plan to use VoIP phones, or you don't have them yet, but you still want to record a greeting, you can send an email to support@virtualpbx.com and just state that you want to be able to record your greeting from an outside line. Now that email needs to come from at least a system admin on the account, and then we can open that up. But basically what it is, you call your main number, and especially if you have a greeting already in place, you type in this PIN number, and then the system will walk you through recording the greeting. Now, this PIN number is specific to the time of day, right? So we're in open hours, so this PIN number will only work during my open hours. Right, there'll be a different PIN number for after hours, for lunch hours, and for holidays. And your system has to be in that mode for you to make use of that PIN number. Now, if you already have a greeting in place, right? So you have greeting A, that's what plays. You call in, you can still enter this PIN number during your open hours, and then the system will prompt you to start recording walk you through recording a greeting. Now, the file name will stay the same, but the content of greeting A becomes whatever you just record over the phone. So that's something to keep in mind. All right, professional recording services. We've partnered with Snap Recordings. When you click the little order button there, it will take you to their site. They have something like 100 voice actors to choose from, with both men and women. They have various versions of English, like UK English versus American English, etc. I believe they have a couple of versions of Spanish and French, so you can do a multilingual greeting. They also have what they refer to as hold treatment, so you can have music play and then a script be read and then music, etc. They handle their own pricing. They deliver via email. They will usually either do .wav or .mp3 for you. Basically, you get the file, and then you would just go to upload. All right. Down here at the very bottom, we got number of retries on this dial. Basically, how many times can the inbound caller hit an invalid option? Right. So I'm saying 2. So basically, caller comes in and they keep pressing 7. Right. Not a valid option. After that second time, the system will say, we did not hear a valid option, and we'll disconnect the call. Now, you notice here when I added a route, it's a default, and you can actually, on your system, you'll be able to see what it fully says. I can't show you here. But default route, meaning if I have a default route in place, after that second misdial, it would go to the default route. Now, the reason we don't typically recommend that is because robodialers are still such a problem. So basically what happens for the robodialer is they call in, they'll hear your greeting, play the 2 times. If you have a default route set, it goes to the default route. if without a default route, what I'm saying is, hey, robot knowledge, you're not going to get any further than my greeting. And actual customers, hopefully they're listening, and they'll press an actual menu option and get to my staff. Now, any changes you make in your main menu or your greetings, you need to click Save here, but you also need to click Save Changes here. All right. So, next option. So a call comes in, I'm offering it to Bob, and if Bob doesn't answer, it goes to that same virtual receptionist. Right. Same link, same information. Now, I've got other options. Right, I can send it to a queue, I can send it to a ring group, I can send it to a specific device. I can even send it to a media file, which to me is a little strange, because basically you might end up having two greetings play, which might throw customers off. So I wouldn't recommend that. But typically speaking, the idea here is you're giving a staff member or multiple staff members, in the case of groups and queues, a chance to answer the call first. If they're not able to, then the inbound caller gets to your virtual receptionist so they can click a menu option or enter an extension number. Likewise, this third option here, call comes in. Again, you can offer it to groups, users, devices, media file, etc. But if they're not able to pick up, it can instead go to a voicemail box you choose. Now, there's one additional option up here, which is just skip the voicemail. So no additional greeting, no offering to anybody, just saying, hey, send the caller to voicemail. This last one, again, this is new, but basically call comes in, you're going to your main DISA. Basically, you're saying anyone who's calling in is one of your staff members who's then going to try to make an outbound call. Not quite sure why that's there, but that's what that is. Holiday tab, again, you have these same options. Your virtual receptionist for each of these other tabs, however, will be different than your open hour, your incoming, your open hours, right? So holiday hours, virtual receptionist will be different than open hours, which can be different from your after hours, etc. Now, you can make them all be the same if you want. But in general, it's basically saying, hey, under these circumstances, I want calls to go here instead of under my normal business. Yay. All right, main conference number. Again, you can add from spare. You can buy additional. The custom greeting is just a text-to-speech greeting. But again, you can type in what you need to say. But basically, what this is for is anyone calling this number, including your own staff, would go into the conference bridge. The system will then prompt them to enter the conference room number and then the PIN number. Main fax box number, again, you're restricted to 1. Now, on your account, when you click Edit Fax Box, you'll get 2 fields to fill out. On this account, I just get an error message. Again, because it's a test account. So the 2 fields, the first field is for who's receiving the faxes. So I'll get an email, all the faxes will be in a PDF. The second field is for outbound faxing. The main reason it would be used would be if you have your own email domain for your company, right? So you own abccleaners.com. Then you can just put that domain, and then anyone who has an email domain, right, can send out a fax. They don't need to be a user. 1 minute. Sorry about that. Oh, and then in terms of, again, faxing out, create an email in the 2 field, +1 area code and phone number, @ account realm, and attach PDF. Right. So direct inward system access, or DISA, this is new, like 2 weeks. This is the 2nd week of it. But basically, the idea here is you're allowing any of your users who rely on cell phone or landlines, they can now call into one of your main numbers. They enter in the DISA extension or DISA menu option if you choose to go that route. Then they'll enter in the PIN number here. And again, you can have them be different if you want. And then the system will give them a dial tone, and then they can make an outbound call. Now, when they do that, the caller ID won't be the cell phone number that they called in with, right? It'll be your main number that they called into. So basically here is you select the PIN number. We can, actually here we can, so I can always change the PIN number, and then you can always add an extension. I'll just put it back to what it was. But you can make it any extension you want it to be, or any PIN number. All right, numbers, show all the numbers on the account and where they go to. So numbers in use. Spare numbers, these are numbers I'm not using. If I want to get rid of these numbers, I put a check mark in front of them, and then I have this option to delete. And now it says, hey, successfully deleted, and then removed from my account, and I just saved almost $10. Now you can always buy more numbers here if you need them. In this case, when you buy them under the numbers, they're just going to be added to your spare numbers, and then you can assign it where you need it later. Port is an industry term to move a number from one carrier to another, so from AT&T to VirtualPBX. You can start the process, like I just did. You basically just follow the on-screen steps to finish that process. Now, the main things we need for the port process are a completed and signed letter of agency, or LOA. And you can download one from our website. And actually, within this port process, you have the option to download a blank one as well. We also will need a copy of your most recent bill from your current carrier. In this port process, you can upload those documents, right? The completed LOA and the bill has no problem with that. Once you click submit, it gets sent to our porting team. They start the process. You should get a couple emails after you click on the submit the port request. One saying, hey, you just submitted it, but then a follow-up one later from our staff saying, yes, we've got your documentation. Thank you. Here's what can happen. You can also just email porting@virtualpbx.com with your LOA and the copy of the bill. They'll still process the port request. Now, on that LOA, right, it's going to ask you for company information, like your company name and your address. That information should match what your current carrier has on file for you. It does need to be actually signed, whether that's a digital signature or you printed it out and someone signed it and then scanned it back in. Either way, it just doesn't, it cannot be typed. That's going to get rejected every time. If you're going to be porting a mobile number, just be aware that once the port completes, the mobile phone that it's associated with will no longer work until you get a new number from your mobile carrier. And in terms of porting a mobile number, we do need that bill, but we also need an account PIN number, which you need to get from your carrier. And that's a security feature from the mobile side. Let's go to the user page here. So users shows all the users on your account. You can click on add user and enter their name. Email address used for login. This needs to be unique for each user. And then you create a password. And then the main extension. Now, this system I started with extension 1000, so it's telling me, hey, the next available one is 1027. I can change it to whatever I want, right? Like I did under DISA where I changed it to 7007. I could do that to, I can make it change here and make it, 5210. Now, just be aware that you don't want like this extension number to match anyone else's extension number. That does cause problems. All right, then you have these 4 options down here. So 1, create a voicemail box for this user. That voicemail box, when it's created at the same time as the user like this, is intrinsically tied to that user. So say you add a Yealink phone to this user and you auto provision that phone, like the voicemail lamp will show up to let them know, hey, you have a voicemail, so they can check their voicemail, that sort of thing. Including the company directory, that would be that download link on the dashboard. Send emails to an alternate address. This would be basically you're sending any of the notifications to a different address than the one they used to log in. And then the most important one, in my opinion, is send credentials to the user, right? So basically saying, hey, when I say click on create user, this email address, or the alternate one, but typically this email address up here, they get sent their password, essentially, but hey, here's where you log in, here's your username, account name, etc. Now, if you're adding multiple people, then you would do create and add another. All right, so the little gray person icon, that's your standard user. People with the blue suit, they are your admins, right? So they can do everything we're talking about here. If you click on a person's name, you can change their name. If you click on change credentials here, you can change their password, or actually you can change their email address or their password. Now, if it's one of your users that says, hey, I forgot my password, I can't get in, you can click right there, and the system will send them a password reset email so they can set the password themselves. Voicemail box to change the PIN number. So if your staff is predominantly using Voip phones and you auto provision the phone, you don't need to create a PIN number for them, right? They can pick up their Voip phone and hit *98. That takes them directly to their voicemail box. And then the system will prompt them to create a PIN number and record their voicemail greeting. If your staff is using landlines or cell phones, then you do need to create a PIN number for their voicemail box. And here, option to send to an alternate address. And then here also the option is keep them in the user directory or not. This is a pull down where you can change a user to be an admin or an admin back down to a user. This is your time zone for the user, if it's going to be different than your account default. The language for the user, French, German, Russian, and English are the options. Ranging timeout, default on a new user is 20 seconds. And this is how much time we try to reach the devices on this user. Now, your Voip phone users and your landline users, 20 seconds is plenty. However, for people who are sending calls to a cell phone, you're going to want 45 seconds, if not a minute. It simply takes longer to route a call to a cell phone simply because every time your carrier has to find you first, then it can send the call. You got your main extension number, etc. Now, users can have multiple extensions. You can just click add extension, and you can add the extension number. The example I use is for our VP of sales. Whenever we lose a salesperson, he immediately takes over their extension. So that way, if any voicemails comes in or calls, he can handle them and or make sure they get divvied out to the other sales staff. So you're not losing potential business. Now, every user can have their own phone number or multiple numbers. Again, you can add from spare or buy directly. And then we got your devices box. You can have many devices on a particular user. So first up, we've got SIP phone. Again, that's the physical Voip phone. You can find your manufacturer here, and then find the model of the phone. Then you just need to give it a name, right? So Bob's phone or David's phone. And then you need the MAC address of that device. Usually it's a sticker on the back. It can be a sticker on the box itself. And most phones have a way to get the MAC address by going through the menu options, usually under settings. But you would enter that here. Then you would click on Create Device, and then click Save Changes. Now, within Dash, that's all you have to do. On the phone, you need to get into that phone's web UI and need to add a particular URL for it to connect to, usually under their auto provision section. Basically what it does is the phone goes out on the internet, goes to that URL, says, hey, I was told to go here. Server says, hey, what's your MAC address? And oh, I know who you are and what account you're on. Here's your config information. Your VoIP phone will then reboot, usually a couple times, but then it'll show up, and it'll show up as a green device on the user, and you're good to go. Now, for the specifics, you can find that on our support pages. So mouse over support, select dash, and you want to look at the, well, auto provisioning phones should give you the URL and where to look for on your phone's UI. And then adding VoIP devices will cover these steps that we're going through here. All right, cell phone and landline are essentially the same, so I'll just show you here. But basically, you give it a name, and then you have a +1 area code and phone number. All right, so your cell phone number. Click on Create Device. You click on Save Changes. Now, when Dash sends a call to a cell phone or a landline, your phone is going to ring. You're going to pick up. You're going to hear, this is a forwarded call. Please press 1. So when you press 1, you're telling the system, yes, you're there and ready to take the call. It says, great, and it connects the other person to you. You begin your conversation. Now, if instead you're actually sending calls to, say, an automated answering service, your automated answering services can't press 1. So what you would want to do is put a check mark here in front of allow use of cell phone's voicemail. So now when we send the call, we're not requesting them to press 1. We hear that pickup tone, we connect the call instantly. Your automated answering service takes over the call and handles it however they handle it. Now, if you're actually having calls go to your actual cell phone, then with this check, what can happen is your cell phone voicemail can pick up. That means that inbound caller ends up on your cell phone voicemail, not on the system voicemail. And that would just depend on the timing of your ring duration versus when your cell phone actually picks up, or your cell phone voicemail picks up. The other thing that people change is this one here, the keep original caller ID. So by default, when calls get sent to your cell phone, you'll see the phone number of the person who's calling. All right, pretty standard. If you uncheck this, instead what you see is the VirtualPBX number that they called, right? So one of your main numbers, or the number on your user, whatever. It's basically one of your numbers on your account will show up on your call ID. So it's a way for you to let you know, oh, this is a business call. And then, you know, versus a random telemarketer or like political call. All right, soft phone, it defaults you. Oh, sorry. First, you've got the warning message here basically saying, hey, make sure your E91 is up to date. You click on close. But it defaults you to using a third-party application. Okay? That's one of the things here that's great at the bottom. So you give it a device name, and then you would use these 3 pieces of information to program that application. Whether that's something like XLite from CounterPass, or it's a Voip phone that didn't show up on the list under the SIP devices. Now, if you're going to use the VirtualPBX soft phone, what you do is you click down here where it says use third-party application. Right? It flips it that says, hey, use VirtualPBX application. You give it a device name, you hit create device, and then save changes. Right? So since I'm on this user, what happens is when I hit save changes, David here is going to get an email saying, hey, your cell phone's been created. Here's your username, here's your password. Go ahead and download the app. Now, by default, that email is assuming that you're using the mobile version of the app, Android and iOS, and you can find that as VPBX phone on the relevant stores. If you want the desktop version of the app, that does require a license fee, and so you're just going to want to order that through the web store. And then web phone, again, something else you would want to do on the user page here. Basically, you give it a device name, click create device, click save changes. So then you can go to webphone.virtualpbx.net, and you use your Dash login to get in. Right? So same email address, same password, same account name, using Chrome or Firefox, you can then make and receive calls from that page. All right, user features. So caller ID number, this only applies to those users with an actual phone number on their user. You click it on, and then you're saying, hey, use this phone number for my outbound caller ID instead of the main company number. Call forwarding, basically saying, hey, so you have off, on, and failover mode. So off, you're not using call forwarding. On, it's saying, hey, I'm not going to be at my normal phone. Instead, send calls to this other phone number. Right? So this phone number shouldn't be a device on my user. And then failover mode, this is for your Voip phone users. It's basically the system will detect when your Voip phone goes offline, right? Becomes unregistered. A call happens to come into your user at that time, it'll be sent to, in this case, this mobile phone number. But again, the forwarding destination phone number should not be a device, like, right? Should not be added as, say, a cell phone on the user. Hot desking is also a Voip feature. This is an instance where you're in a shared office environment where people may change desks from day to day. Then you simply create a hot desk ID for the person. You can, up to you if you need to require a PIN, and then click Save Changes. So what happens is, coming to your desk on, say, today's Tuesday, I'm sitting at desk number 7. I pick up the handset on that phone that's sitting at desk 7. I hit *11. The system will ask me for my hot desk ID, and then ask me for my PIN if that was enabled. And then it'll say, calls will be now forwarded to this device, meaning calls to my user will end up at the device I'm sitting at. End of my day, I pick up the handset, I hit *12 to turn off hot desking. And then the next day I come in, someone's already at desk number 7. Bummer. Whatever, I'll sit at desk number 43. Sit there, again, same thing, pick up the handset, hit *11, enter hot desk ID, etc. Voicemail box, again, was created with the user. Fax box, so you can create individual fax boxes for your users. You've got the option here for using a spare number, buying a new number, or an extension. Now, I recommend using a phone number. That might be a reflection of my age, but when I go up to a fax machine, I enter the phone number, scan the document, hit send fax, and I walk away, go get a cup of coffee. If you use an extension number, basically someone has to call into the main number, listen to the greeting, hit the extension number, and then hit send fax. Conference bridge. So here we can. Yeah, let's go to Bob here and enable it on his user so you can see it fresh. So basically you enable it. All right, gives you the phone number. This is his access, his conference room number, and then you set up a PIN number. That didn't like that at all, did it? And then you click Save Changes. So now Bob can host a conference. And this information is what he would send to anyone attending the conference. And he can access this through his user portal. All right, follow me. This is for people with multiple devices. So I enabled it, and then I need to choose which devices I'm actually going to make use of. All right, so I uncheck the do not ring. Up here is the total ring time. It defaults it to 120 seconds, and I can do something like that. Click on distribute, and now it's ringing these in order. I can change the order, and then click redistribute. These are sliders though, so I can do something like this too if I wanted to. So it rings all my phones at the same time for that full duration. And then you would click on Save Changes. You can also change your default time up here if you want. Music on hold, you can have individualized hold music. Again, you just upload a file, .wav, .mp3, recorded in mono under 1 megabyte. Customized call recording. So here, let's change that to. All right, so when you first come in, you click Enable. If you just click Save Changes, you haven't actually made any significant changes because the account default is off. So that's just a caveat I wanted to show. Now, inbound internal means coworker Bob called me. I can choose to record that or not, right? On, off, or on. Now, inbound external means a customer called me. Probably want to record that more often than not. Inbound internal means I called coworker Bob. And then outbound external means I'm calling a customer. And then click Save Changes. And then Do Not Disturb. Hey, send all my calls to voicemail. All right, groups. Shorthand for ring groups. These are for departments or, it's actually departments. You can add a group up here at the top, give it a name, an extension number, and then you click and drag the people you want to be in this group. And then you click on Create Group. Now, once you've created a group, you can click on the name. So you can always change the name. Dialing repeats. This is the number of times an inbound caller can be offered to the people in the group. All right, so in this case, it's 3. If you click on the members box, so now you've got the total ring duration here. Again, defaults to 120. And you've got this kind of setup. Again, I can click distribute. Just like under the follow me settings, I can click and drag people around to adjust that. I can click distribute again. And again, these are sliders, so I could always do something like that if I wanted to, or for offsets if I wanted to. Groups can have extension numbers, again, multiple extension numbers. That's so your other staff members can transfer calls to that group. Groups can also have their own phone number. Again, goes directly to the group. And then you've got group features. So Ringback basically allows you to upload a .wav or MP3, and this will play back until one of your staff members picks up. The main thing is you want this file to be as long as the hold duration, or the ring duration, excuse me, of the group, because the system will not automatically loop the file for you. And then you would click on Save Changes. Next action, if no one's able to pick up the call, what do you want it to do? Typically, you're sending it to a voicemail box, or you're sending it, you can send it to another group, the main menu, a user, etc. Allow call forward. If you enable this, basically you're allowing your users to make use of the forwarding function on their phone. And then caller ID prepend, this is for your Voip phone users. You can add additional name or number prefix so your staff knows what the call is about, especially useful if they're in multiple groups or queues. So a couple things. Ring groups, you only have those limited routing options, right? Either in sequence or all at once, or some variation or combination of those. And then you can have a phone number and extension, and the users can make use of cell phones or Voip phones. ACD queues, you can only have an extension or a phone number. And then right now, queues can only offer calls to Voip devices. Speaking of devices, this is your devices page, so you can see your devices on the account. Green means it's connected, right? It's registered. Red means it's not registered. Black means you've disabled the device. You can add devices here, right? Same options as under the users. The main thing is if you're going to use the VirtualPBX soft phone or the web phone, you want to add those under the users versus over here. Voicemail boxes shows all the voicemail boxes on the account, including the user voicemail boxes. You can create your own voicemail box for like your ring groups, for example. Just give it a name, a voicemail box number, and a PIN number. For the voicemail box number, you want to make sure it does not match someone else's extension number, for example, or another voicemail box. If you click on the little wrench icon next to any voicemail box, you can always change the voicemail box number or the PIN number. For any voicemail box you create, you do want to have a greeting file in place. So you can upload a file, .wave.mp3, recorded in Mondo under 1 megabyte. For a voicemail box, if you have the PIN number, you can always call into it and record it over the phone. Now, your default greetings are always going to be the main media file here. If you select a temporary file, that will supersede the media file until you set this back to none, right? So this is for the vacation voicemail greeting or holiday voicemail greeting, right? Like, hey, I'm going to be out of the office from blah, blah, blah to blah, blah, blah. You can then put that in place for that user. They get back from their vacation, you put this back to none, and then their normal greeting plays. Recipients, you can add additional recipients to a voicemail box. So in the case of say like a user's voicemail box, if you go to recipients, right, this will be an addition to, in this case, Duke. So Duke himself will get an email saying, hey, you got a voicemail, and have an attachment usually in that voicemail. You can add someone else, right? So Duke's boss, or Duke says, hey, can you also have it sent to my personal email address, just so I know I'll get it. That sort of thing there. And then options. So once you've got the greeting media and the recipient set up, then you can click here for already set up, and that's for any manually created voicemail box. Right, most of these are pretty self-explanatory, and they have a little help indicator. A couple of these two down here tend to come into play. So delete after notification. If this is checked, which is by default, basically what happens is the system sends an email to the user or the recipient. In the email, there's an attachment that they can play the file, MP3, so they can listen to the voicemail. And then the system will then remove the voicemail message from the system. Right? It's like, hey, we already sent it to you via email. And the reason it does that is because voicemail boxes are restricted to 100 messages. And once you hit that 100, the next person who tries to leave a message gets voicemail box is full, please try again later. Now, if your staff likes checking the voicemail on their phones or through the web interface, then you would want to uncheck that. So then they can check via either method. And then this one here, attach messages to email. So you can uncheck this and they'll still get the email with the attachment. If you uncheck this, they'll just get an email notification saying, hey, you got a voicemail, but no attachment. So obviously, if you uncheck this, you also want to uncheck that. So that way they can check their voicemail themselves. All right, the greetings manager shows the greetings on the account, the name. The source is recording, TTS, meaning text to speech, and then upload. You can download the file so you can listen to it to see if it's still current. And then if you click on the wrench icon, you can change the name as well as delete the greeting itself. All right. Call logs shows your call activity. Right, so the green arrow to the right, that's an inbound call. The little golden, orange arrow to the left means it's an outbound call. You can click on a call just get a better idea of what happened. So it looks like here, tried to ring a cell phone, and then, no, didn't actually try this device since I had 0 seconds. But basically it gives you an idea of what happened on the call. Now the little fire hydrant icon here, where it says report a call, this will create an email, and you can send that to support saying, hey, this call, and then in the body of the email I would suggest telling us your experience, right? So this said this was offered to me, but my phone never rang, or it rang once and was gone before I could actually answer. Just gives us an idea what's going on. Feature codes. These are codes that you can use from your Voip phone. Right, I already mentioned the hot desking ones, for example. Then also the check voicemail. Now, anyone can call in and hit the *97 from the main number to get to any voicemail box. So that's how you would record a greeting for a manually created voicemail box. These are all also published on the website under VirtualPBX.com, so you don't have to log in to find the feature codes. All right, so this was all under the dashboard. Next up, we have ACD queues. So ACD stands for Automatic Call Distribution. It's a call center feature. This is essentially an upgraded version of the ring groups in terms of call routing capabilities. Queues, I believe, start at $15 per queue per month. We also have ACD Queues Pro, which is a further enhancement on the queues. I believe they start at $99 per month, but I'm not sure about that. If you're interested in both, you probably want to talk to our account services team just so that A, they can get you the correct pricing, but B, they can discuss with you to make sure it's the best use case for you. In the sense of spending money you don't need to. All right, so add a new queue would be right there. But once you do, you get into maybe there we go. All right, so you give it a queue name. Queues can have either a phone number or an extension number. That's on top of a main menu option, right? So on your virtual receptionist, you can still have a menu option go to a queue. Queue routing strategy. Unfortunately, you can't see the other options here, but most idle means whoever's been waiting longest for a call gets the next one that comes in. There's also round robin, which just equalizes calls over time. Least offered means whoever's been offered the least amount of calls, right? So Bob's been offered 20 calls, Mary's been offered 5 calls, Mary gets the next call that comes in. There's also least calls. So in that above scenario, say Bob only spoke to 2 people, but Mary spoke to all 5 people that she was offered. Next call comes in, goes to Bob. And then you can also ring all, meaning ring everyone or blast everyone at the same time. ACD Queues Pro also has or will have skills-based ranking. I haven't seen that in use yet, so I'm not sure how exactly that's going to work. But I know that's coming to ACD Queues Pro. Hold treatment. Again, you can upload a file. .wav.mp3 recorded in mono. On ACD Queues Pro, you actually have more options for your hold treatment, where you can announce the wait time, you can announce their position, you can have hold music in between those or around them. I can't remember. I think there's something else you can do within the Queues Pro in terms of the hold treatment. Queue timeout. This is how much time individual caller can wait on hold in the queue. Queue call limit. You can limit the number of calls in the queue. In 0 means there's no limit. Timeout immediately is empty. Basically says, hey, if I have no agents, then then the escalation options will come into play. So escalation queue means you can send the callers to a second queue, or if the escalation flow after timeout, you can send it to a voicemail box. You can send it to another queue. You can send it to a user, etc. Agent behavior, agent recovery timeout or recovery time measured in seconds. Now 300 is unusual. Most times you see recovery time is between 10 and 30 seconds. Basically, it's after an agent has completed a call in the queue, how much time does the system wait before it offers them a second call from the queue. Force away on rejected or missed. If you enable this, basically, if an agent misses a call, it puts them away mode. They have to put themselves back in ready mode before they can get another call. And then agent connect timeout, how much time we're trying to offer, or how much time we're, or how long we are offering a call to a specific agent. Now, if you click on the little members icon here, and then you would click on manage members. So on the left, you see all the people on your account, and then on the right, these are the people that you've moved over to be in your call center or in your queues. So if you click on, say, Bob, and then add as members, oh, who's in that queues pro? Let's see if I can. Move Duke over. There we go. And then you see Duke is over here now. So now Duke can be in the queues. And if you go back to queues, you click on a queue, you can add any of these people, including Duke. Let's save changes. And so now Duke can log into the queue. Now, so any of your staff members, if you have queues, would click on ACD queues, and then they can click on begin session. And then they can mark themselves as ready, and now they can take calls from any queue that they're assigned to. Additionally, over here, this little phone icon, they can choose which of their devices they're going to accept calls on. Now, again, queues will only be getting calls on Voip devices at the current time. All right, Blacklist. Blacklist is basically you're creating a list of phone numbers that cannot connect to your system. So you would either add a new list or click on an existing list. Right? You can give it a name. Block anonymous means if we get invalid caller ID, then you're going to block the call. And then you put +1 area code and the phone number of the phone numbers you want to block, like we have right here. You would click save. You go back to settings, and then you make sure it's in the selected column, right? So you might have to, like first time, you're going to have to move it over to selected, and then you would click update. And now those phone numbers that are on that list, anytime they try to call into your system, they're going to get a busy tone. All right, admins can get to any fax box on the account, and they can see what's going on with the inbound or outbound faxes. And they can also see the email to fax logs in case people are having problems. It'll give them more information. In fact, over here on the right, there's a little eyeball. You can click on it. It'll expand what happened and hopefully give you insight about why a fax did not get sent out. Monitor, I don't know if this is currently live on accounts. I've had some customers say it's not. But basically, the idea here is you can see everyone's status, right? Green means, hey, they're waiting for a call. Red means they've marked away. Blue means they're on an inbound call. Yellow means they're on an external call, and then gold is they're on recovery time from a queue call. Recording Manager, it takes you to where your call recordings are stored, hosted by AWS. It uses your Dash login information to get in. Reports is an advanced version of the call logs. It's, from what I understand, this is still in beta, and it's going to be a paid feature. I don't know what the pricing is. If you're interested, I would definitely say talk to our account services team. They can. I don't know if they'll let you, I don't know if they have pricing information, but they would more likely have the information than I am. User portal. So every user on the account has their own user portal. This is where, like first section, this is where they would have check their voicemails, especially if you have disabled delete after notification. They can see their call history, both inbound and outbound. They can see their faxes if they have them. The contact list, this is just the Dash account, right? So the various ring groups, extensions, etc. You're not able to add to this yourself, right? So I can't put in my mom's phone number here or anything like that. The conference tab, this is where they handle their conferencing, right? So again, that's the moderator pin, but that's their own pin. They have the phone number up here. They've got these options in terms of tones you hear when people are joining and leaving. Up here, you can invite other people on your Dash account to your conference. You can lock a conference. You can mute everybody. You can unmute everybody. You can end the conference call. When you're actually in a conference, like under participants, you can actually mute specific participants as well as kick particular participants. And then settings and devices. So this is where users can set up their own call forwarding, so you don't have to do it for them. Right? And then they can say, hey, ring it to this phone number, etc. And they can see the current status of their devices. Voicemails, again, any admin, you can get to any voicemail box on the account to see what's going on, especially if a voicemail box is full. So then you would have the option to play back, delete, or download messages. And then Webhooks is making use of APIs to link Dash to other software. If you're interested in that, you're going to want to talk to our sales team. They'll have the information you'll need, including like sample code and things of that nature. And that is Dash. So I'll hang out for a couple minutes in case anyone has any questions via chat. But if you don't, then I thank you for your time today, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And in case you're like the guinea pig for your company, this stream is recorded, so you can always come back to our YouTube channel and view this recording at a later date, or have other staff members view it at a later date, as well as the recorded version that's on our website. All right, I'm not seeing any questions pop up. So I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Again, thank you for your time today, and I hope you have a